we thought it was appropriate to ask you to host us here in Thunder Hill because of the new renovations. And so you can see with technology, with the camera feeds, with the buzzer system, with the secure entrance, you know, as the school system has renovated buildings, we've obviously focused on these areas. Now you're going to see an increased focus. And I just want to really thank everyone involved in this issue. After the Newtown shooting took place, we collectively as a county, including the school superintendent, Dr. Renee Foose, who I'm going to introduce in a moment, the members of the Board of Education, and Ellen Flynn Giles from the Board of Education is here. Thank you for your partnership. Members of the County Council, two of whom are here, Calvin Ball, Dr. Calvin Ball, in whose district we are in, and Courtney Watson were at the table with us having these discussions about what we need to do to make sure we are as safe as possible. I asked our police chief, Bill McMahon, to head up the operation from our side and to partner with the school system to take a look at what are we doing that is working very well in Howard County, because we know we're doing so many things that are really a model, but my philosophy is we can always get better. And so let's take another look at what we're doing, both internal in the school buildings and external, more community-wide. And let's not study this for 2 years. Let's study it over a couple months and quickly get some recommendations to the superintendent and to myself so that we can begin to make progress immediately. This is not a plan that is going to sit on anybody's shelf. This is a plan that is going to begin, we're going to begin to implement right away. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Foose to talk about the school systems piece of this, and then to our police chief, Bill McMahon. Then I'll come back and make some comments as well. I also want to thank, and I know Dr. Foose will do this, but Bill Ryan and Ken Roy from the school system, who really did a tremendous amount of good work in working together with us.
In the aftermath of the recent tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School, our school system received a tremendous outpouring of support and concern from many in our community. Our parents and our stakeholders have asked us, what do you do and what can you do to ensure that our students and staff and our families are safe and never have to face a similar situation that we saw in Connecticut. Immediately partnering with the county executive, who was very serious about this, we put together a joint task force led by Chief McMahon and 2 school system officials, Bill Ryan and Ken Roy, as the county executive said. And the tragedy in Connecticut and the escalating reports of violence have really prompted us to take a very quick and proactive approach to looking at what we are doing in the school system. We want to make sure that we're doing all that we can to ensure not only the physical safety, but the well-being of our students and the emergency responsiveness of how we would respond should the event of such an unnatural disaster occurring here in Howard County. The task force has done a tremendous job in compiling feedback from our community stakeholders and conducting a complete review. The work culminates in a comprehensive report of findings that we're going to release today with some very specific strategies that we can implement immediately and over the long term. The report does confirm that we are indeed safe in our schools, and we have strong practices and partnerships in place, so that our staff within our schools are very dedicated to our students and their safety as well as their well-being. But the report also outlines a number of very important specific measures that once completed will raise our school system to an even higher level. Some of these we're going to implement immediately, and some of these we have to plan for over the course of time. I'm committed to quickly implementing as many recommendations and strategies as we can to ensure that our students and our staff are very safe in our schools. I want to thank the task force and all the members that participated for their excellent work, and I also want to recognize all of our county partners for their dedicated support. Together, we will continue to ensure a safe, healthy, and supportive environment for all of our students to learn. And at this point, I'd like to introduce Chief McMahon, who was one of the leaders on this task force. Chief.
So good afternoon. Overall, I think the good news is that we have many good things in place already. And as the executive stated and the superintendent alluded to, we can always be better. Before I talk about some of the specific recommendations, let me just tell you a little bit about the nature of the task force. So, in the wake of the Sandy Hook shootings, the superintendent and the county executive asked myself and Bill Ryan and Ken Roy from the school system to serve as tri-chairs on the task force. And The task force was divided into 3 major components, with each of the tri-chairs having a responsibility for it. So the physical security of the schools, the cameras, the lights, those type of things, that fell under Ken's purview. The emergency response planning, making sure that not just the traditional first responders, the police and the fire, the entire school community, the entire greater community was prepared, well prepared to respond in the event we had one of these tragedies in our county. And the third area, in some ways one of the most important areas in my mind, was headed up by Bill Ryan, and that was making sure that we have a climate in the schools in which kids feel safe and are safe and feel nurtured and have ways to identify children that might be having issues that need help with. And so, we each broke off into our subcommittees. We went to work very quickly on each of those 3 issues. And the other kind of important part was the amount of community support and input we had. In fact, it was very, very difficult to fit all the input, all the people that wanted to actively be involved on the task force into that. In terms of physical security, and the other thing, the task force, again, some short-term recommendations, things that we can improve right away. And as we identified things that would take a longer time to do that, so we could have a focus both short-term and longer-term. From the physical security standpoint, many of the schools, particularly the newer ones, are in great shape. Others need some retrofitting. And so we want to make sure, one of the recommendations coming out of this is to make sure there's some consistency throughout the school system, both in terms of physical security technology, but also in practices. And so it's fine when I'll come back to this theme again. It's great to have a great plan, but if people aren't following it, it doesn't really matter. So we want to make sure we have consistency throughout the school system on the physical security. In terms of the emergency response planning, again, all the schools have excellent emergency response plans. We did find that there seems to be some inconsistency among the schools in terms of emphasis placed on it. So one of the recommendations for that is to make sure each school trains regularly and exercises those plans. One of the other things that we quickly found out, and this cut through all 3 subcommittees, is how many users of the schools there are outside their traditional school day. So these schools are hubs of activity, probably from 6 in the morning till 10 or 11 at night and on weekends, and not all related to school activities. So we really had to figure out, what information can we use the non-traditional school users of the schools to make sure that their events are safe as well. So we've been working very hard on that. One group that we heard loud and clear from was the non-public schools. And there's a number of non-public schools in the county that may not have the support of a central staff to help them do all the things they would like to do. So, and they're struggling for information about how to develop emergency response plans and to make sure their schools are safe. So one of our recommendations is to provide opportunities for us to share what we've learned with some of those non-public schools, daycare facilities, etc. And the other thing that we learned is what a significant impact an incident like this will have on the community, and how well is this community prepared, not just for the initial response to where that tragedy is, but in the days and the weeks and the months that come. And you see Sandy Hook still dealing with some of those issues. So we need to start having those discussions here to make sure as a community we're resilient and ready to move on in the event we have an event like that. And finally, Bill Ryan's group, the Safe and Nurturing Schools. Again, I think he would tell you, or has told me, many good things going on in the schools in terms of providing healthy supports for the kids, but we may not be doing a great job of letting everybody know about that. So how can we better let parents, students, staff members know the supports that exist both in the school system, but also in the greater community? And from that also comes training staff, making sure they're familiar with everything that's available. So that's kind of a summary of the 11 or so recommendations that we made. Each of us will certainly be here to discuss them in more detail if you'd like. It's been a great opportunity. It really has been a pleasure to see the input. Sometimes you have a problem and you have plenty of problem identifiers, not a lot of problem solvers. I'll tell you, the amount of input we had on this task force, we have a community full of problem solvers, so it was a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. And just to follow up on a couple closing comments, the Chief mentioned, I think this process was very instrumental for all of us to frankly develop or recommit to our partnership, right? And this is not just a school issue. This is a community-wide issue. And tackling the issue of gun violence, tackling the issue of safety of our children, of our neighbors, is a broader issue. It's one of the reasons why we had the gun buyback this weekend, which went incredibly well. We took 631 guns off the street just on Saturday. So I want to publicly thank the chief and his team for doing a fabulous job. Frankly, we were somewhat surprised at very surprised at the folks who participated. You know, last time the county did a gun buyback was almost 20 years ago and got 15 one time and 3 another time. So we got 631 guns, and many of them, when I talk to people, frankly, I'd say 3/4 of the people I talked to were, you know, I have this gun, it was left to me by my dad, my late husband, etc. It's been in my closet, I don't even know if it's loaded. And so that's an important piece. All of what we're doing is to try to put together the best planning possible, the best group of policies possible to diminish the chances that we have tragedy in Howard County. So back to the recommendations. I want to be very clear, working together with the school system, we will start investing almost immediately $2 million into the school system to have buzzer systems, card swipe systems, better surveillance camera systems. We'll also make those feeds available to the 911 center. That was a piece that came out of this, that in the middle of a crisis situation, we want to make sure that our dispatching folks can access those feeds. And that kind of progress only comes when you're actually working and talking and communicating. And for example, I see over in the corner Kevin Burnett, who's one of our retired majors who runs security for the school system. I also see Ryan Miller, who's in charge of our emergency management for the county. And so everyone working together, we know that we are going to make significant progress. Better training, more drills, more conversations with users in the school system before and after school. We want our schools to be community resources. We want recreation and parks activities in the evenings, before school, before care, after care. We want all types of activities, but we got to make sure that those users understand what the emergency plans are in those schools. As the chief mentioned, another big area that was highlighted was the private schools. And many of them are doing some good things, and many of them need some resources. And so collectively, from our side of the ledger, emergency preparedness, police department, and the school system, we're going to make sure those folks have some basic resources so they understand how to keep their students safe as well. So again, you're going to start seeing progress immediately. This is not a plan that will be on the shelf. And the last message I have for the parents of students in Howard County, you should be very proud of your school system. When we went through working with the school system folks, there are incredibly well-trained men and women who take care of our children every day, and I think we all owe them a big thank you. Can we get better? Yes, we can always get better, but we've got some great folks working every day to make sure our children are safe.